There isn't a single veteran Rocket League esports fan who hasn't heard of the name Flipsid3. Best known for their longest standing player and one of the icons of Rocket League in the early days, Cuxer97, the org Flipsid3 still holds the record for the longest time holding a high-level Rocket League team at 1,283 days. Just from that alone, we already know that F3 is a household name around here, but just how impactful are F3's 3.5 years in the competitive scene? Welcome, everybody, to the history of Flipsid3 and competitive Rocket League. In this episode, we will be covering F3's performances from the dawn of competitive Rocket League up to RLCS Season 7.
Underwater.
In order to fully grasp the impact of F3 in the Rocket League scene, we're going to go all the way back to July 2015, where tournaments were still in their primitive state and the only real competition was a $75 weekly ESL Cup on Sundays. After finishing second in the second cup, Team Teamy Weemy, composed of Mike Rules and Marky Duda, decided to bring in a new player, the Italian Cuxer97, a decision that would forever alter the course of Rocket League history. After Teamy Weemy won the next two ESL Cups convincingly with their new lineup, the organization Flipsid3 saw there were some bigger tournaments coming up in the developing Rocket League scene that they didn't want to miss out on, and so on August 25th of 2015, they made the investment in Teamy Weemy as the first legitimate organization to join Rocket League. What followed can only be described as a massacre.
Drop it. Yeah.
That's right, if you thought of competitive Rocket League in 2015, you thought of Flipsid3, no questions asked. Few superlatives can even come close to describing just how dominant this squad was, and with the Rocket League scene finally holding more frequent and bigger tournaments such as Gfinity Weekly Cups, Rocket Royales, ESL Monthly Finals, and the MLG Pro League that wielded a cool $2,500 prize pool, all of which Flipside took down, Rocket League had its undisputable first dynasty. Out of the 28 events F3 participated in that year, they never finished worse than second, and won 22 of them. They finished atop the power rankings in 21 out of 23 weeks, a record that wouldn't be matched in EU for over a year. They ended the year on a 3-0 sweep versus cross-regional rivals IBP, and heading into 2016, this trio was looking unstoppable. "2016 began with some unexpected turbulence for Rocket League's Green Machine, as Supersonic Avengers handed them their first ever quarterfinal exit from a tournament in Gfinity's 17th Weekly Cup. However, F3 were quick to bounce back on the right foot, sweeping the same Supersonic Avengers squad 5-0 in the finals of the $640 Gfinity Invitational just a few weeks later. Right around this time, the Rocket League Central Pro League was announced, and all pros had their eyes on it. The top 4 NA and EU teams at the end of their respective leagues would battle it out for the lion's share of the record-breaking $5,000 prize pool. Despite coming into the league as overwhelming EU favorites, it was actually the surging new squad of Crown and Jewels that took the EU #1 seed heading into the playoffs with their 20-10 game record, just barely edging out Flipside's 19-11. In the playoffs, 4-3 wins over cross-regional opponents Untethered and Kings of Urban allowed F3 to barely squeeze themselves into the final, where they had to play local rivals and EU #1 seed Crown and Jewels. This best of 9 series is widely regarded to be one of the best series of Rocket League ever played, and for good reason. F3 snuck out to a 4-2 series lead, meaning C&J needed to win 3 in a row or else they were eliminated. After losing games 7 and 8 1-2, F3 seemed poised to take the series and the title with a 2-1 lead heading into the closing seconds of Game 9. What happened next was one of the most iconic moments in all of competitive Rocket League.
Now trying to get past the Flipsid3 defense. 10 seconds on the clock. That's the final countdown. Will they be able to get a buzzer beater goal? Killer number 7 is going to try to get the ball up front. Siki with the pass over to Pesci. It goes in! That's it!
Pesci Richie! What an unbelievable back and forth. Look at this exchange between he and Siki. And a massive, and utterly massive 2-second goal to tie the game up. I don't believe it.
I cannot believe what is happening in this final. We're not done yet. Ball's still up in the air. Siki just wants to get that ball as far away from the goal as possible. Here we are, game 9, overtime, and the grand final.
Thank you, Crown and Jewels. You've given me overtime. Now, 1 goal to win it all. Oh my God.
1 goal will decide it all. Crown and Jewels back to the goal. And that's it. Crown and Jewels are the season 1 Rocket League Central Pro League champions.
Unbelievable. What a comeback. What a story. And what a unbelievable victory for Crown and Jewels, who has just won the RLC Pro League.
I mean, crossfield passing plays with 5 seconds left? Pinch aerial double touches in overtime? Keep in mind that competitive Rocket League was still in its infancy, and nobody yet knew what a wave dash, flip reset, or even a ceiling shot was. These goals were absolutely mind-blowing. And just like that, F3's dynasty was officially over. On May 1st, 2016, RLCS Season 1 began, and things weren't looking great for Flipside. Not only were Crown and Jewels, now Market Esports, still keeping up their top form, but a new team called We Dem Girls took the region by storm and finished atop the power rankings for 9 weeks straight, while Flipside dipped to as low as 5th during the break between RLCPL and RLCS. However, one trend you'll notice about Flipside is that when the pressure is on, they tend to perform, and Flipside showed no hesitation once RLCS started. They won the first qualifier by going 2nd in league play with a clean 24-11 record and beating both Mocket and WDG back-to-back. They absolutely decimated through league play in the second qualifier with a 28-7 record, guaranteeing themselves a top 3 seed in Worlds with Mocket EU and WDG. In the second qualifier's playoffs, F3's road to the first seed came to an abrupt halt as they were upset by the second qualifier's 4th finishing Supersonic Avengers 4-3. With We Dem Girls taking down Mocket on the other side of the bracket, We Dem Girls had guaranteed themselves first seed, F3 had secured 2nd, and Mocket had locked down 3rd, meaning that the 3rd place decider match between F3 and Mocket was essentially useless for both teams. In one of the most controversial moments in competitive Rocket League to this day, Mike Rules decided to skip playing the 3rd place game to watch the Euro 2016 final, causing a huge delay on the stream as everyone tried to figure out what happened. His organization was not happy with him, and that night there were fireworks on social media, with a series of incredibly unprofessional back and forths that ended with Mike announcing that he would not be playing the LAN with Flipside. To make a long story short, their issues were sorted out by the time LAN came around, and Mike would be playing with F3 as the number 2 seed. But there were many questions about the state of the team, which led them to be placed 3rd in the power rankings behind WDG and Mocket heading into Worlds. At Worlds, however, everything changed. F3's first round match was against the NA number 3 seed, IBP, who actually were playing with a sub due to Gambit having mental health problems at the time. IBP ended up winning the series with a sub, which only reaffirmed many people's thoughts that F3 had fallen apart as a result of this fiasco. However, as we mentioned earlier, when the pressure is on, F3 perform, and this was no exception. 4 straight lower bracket wins, including a 3-1 over NA number 1 seed Kings of Urban and a 4-1 over EU number 1 seed Northern Gaming, formerly We Dem Girls, saw F3 go straight to the grand final, where they had a rematch against the red hot IBP with Super Sub over 0. Now, the stage was set, and everyone was waiting for the old school rivalry of Cuxer and Kernovi to be played out on the biggest stage. F3 fought hard and took a 2-1 series lead, but it was ultimately IBP who pulled through and took the crown, in no small part thanks to plays like this from Overseer that left the F3 defense stunned.
Coming out from this iBuyPower team. Defense and iBuyPower, not things you usually talk about at the same time. He's carrying it. Kernovi, they can put it in! They stay alive! We go to game 5. What was this coming off the wall? Dribbling it with that Batmobile, spinning it and That rotation from over zero was so well done. He used the flat body of his car to cut off every single angle. What a beautiful play for iBuyPower.
Despite not managing to win Worlds, a very strong performance at Worlds for F3 threw them right back in the conversation for the best team in EU, and they were eager to improve during the off-season to try and take home the RLCS 2 trophy.
Solar eclipses.
Flipside's off-season started with Mike Rules announcing that he would be departing from F3 right after Worlds ended, leaving a spot open to play with the legendary duo of Kux and Marky. The next best option, Flipside figured, was to attack Northern Gaming and steal Greasy, which both strengthened their own roster and weakened their main competitions. With Pashy splitting from his old teammates at Maka due to a poor performance at Worlds, and Northern Gaming having one of their players leave, the stage was set for this new F3 to dominate the offseason, and that's precisely what they did. Remember when we said that 2015 F3 set a record of being first on the power rankings for 21 out of 23 weeks, and it wasn't until late 2016 that that record was matched? Well, it was this new Flipside Tactics squad that went exactly 21 for 23 yet again in a 6-month run that went from the end of RLCS 1 to the beginning of RLCS 3. In league play, they finished a comfortable second place with a 5-2 record, going 17-12 in games, just barely behind the new Northern Gaming squad that picked up Mystic, who ended up 5-2 but 17-10 in games. The regional championship saw F3 triumphantly reclaiming their spot on the top with a one-sided 4-1 over Precision Z and a surprising 4-0 over Northern Gaming to lock up the number 1 seed for LAN. Hopes were high for Amsterdam, where they opened with a strong 3-1 over NA number 4 seed Take 3, but things quickly went south after a harsh 1-3 loss to the newly rebuilt Market Aces squad consisting of Pashy and his 2 young guns Devo and Violent Panda. You probably don't need to be reminded at this point, but as soon as F3 hit that lower bracket, things just seemed to click for them. They began by knocking out Kings of Urban, now NRG, out of Worlds for the second time in a row, and they followed that up by making quick work of Take 3 in order to secure top 3. Then they even knocked out Northern Gaming in 3rd place for the second World Championships in a row. Now, also for the second time in a row, they had a rematch in the Grand Finals against the team that knocked them out, this time against Market Aces, but now they were poised to take it all. Flipside simply outmaneuvered Market all series long, getting an easy 4-1 to reset the bracket and another easy 4-1 to win the World Championships, meaning that F3 finished 2016 cemented as the best Rocket League team of all time.
Infinite power.
While the rest of EU was maniacally shuffling their teams around in order to make a squad that could stand up to the Green Monster, the off-season heading into RLCS Season 3 came and went for F3 as they comfortably stood atop the power rankings week after week and showed no sign of budging. Unfortunately for them, all 6 months of them towering above the rest of EU came crashing down on them in their first match of league play, where they were pitted against the seemingly innocuous team, the Leftovers. One player was never made a LAN, and a complete RLCS rookie in Farah took both the analyst desk and the entire world by surprise with the reverse sweep against F3, including this iconic play from Game 5.
On the offense right now, defense will not win them this game anymore, and Cooks are trying just to keep this pressure going. It'll be Greasy trying to pass it out. 40 seconds left on the clock as Greasy keeps it in the box, and Sicky will fake out Cookser. Great play by Sicky.
Actually, no, you know what? This commentary doesn't do it justice. Here, thank me later.
Towers, balón para adentro, otra vez el rebote, vamos a ver si se lo puede llevar alguien. ¡No!
¡Ay, ay! ¡Qué cantada! ¡Qué cantada! ¡Haciendo el fake! ¡Haciendo el fake! ¡Ferra! 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 ¡Eso es un fake! ¡Eso es un
Flipside fell from number 1 in the power rankings and, sadly, never managed to return there. They did, however, manage to partially recover their season from this early hit, finishing the season atop a 3-way 4-3 tie that put them in 3rd place, 1 spot short of the top 2 required to automatically clinch LAN. This meant that the weekend of the regional championship they had a do-or-die match against number 6 seed Resonant, who, despite not having a great league play, were known as a powerful force since they peaked at number 2 in the power rankings during the offseason. Unfortunately for F3, Resonant came to play, and before they knew it, F3 were staring right at a 3-1 deficit, where one more loss meant the defending World Championships wouldn't even get to go to Worlds. The tale we've told a million times came back to life though, and with a comeback win in Game 7 following 2.5-minute overtime, Cuxer managed to find an angle that set F3 into the 3rd straight World Championships in one of the best series of the entire season.
Coming out now from Resonant Esports. Cooks here, a shot to net. Will he be able to get the dunk here? No, he'll be a little bit too off from that. Markey will keep the dream alive. Cooks with a shot! On net! Flipside Tactics, your reigning world champions, secure themselves a spot into Season 3 land.
2 minutes and 30 seconds into overtime. Marky Duda to Cooks here. What a way to end it. 7 games in, 2 minutes and 30 seconds into overtime. Resonant brought the best Resonant we've seen all season for them. They played their hearts out. It hurts to watch them go. They almost knocked out the reigning world champions, but Flipside will go to land.
After such a close series against the number 6 seed from league play, one would think F3 were down and out, but Cux, Greasy, and Markey had other plans. In their Week 1 rematch versus the now 2 seed and land secured Leftovers, F3 rallied after losing the first 2 games to take it down 4-2 and progress to the EU Regional Finals. There, they were met by the brand new Maka EU, who despite finishing 5th in league play, had taken down Pashy's team in Gale Force and the number 1 seed Northern Gaming to get there. In a battle of these teams that finished 4-3 in league play, it was ultimately Maka who came out on top to secure the number 1 seed in EU. But surely no F3 supporter could complain about their 2nd seed considering how close they were to being knocked out. Flipside found themselves up against the young squad of Selfless that took NA by storm for the first match of Season 3 LAN, and with 15 seconds left in Game 5, it looked like F3 was going to be eliminated by NA's number 3 seed for a 2nd time at the World Championships. However, in between some defensive miscommunication and sheer willpower from Cuxer, another one of Rocket League's most iconic moments was born.
Seconds left. Dapper, control, they just have to hold it off. 1 goal is needed for Flipside Tactics, or they're going into the lower bracket.
Could that be it?
Cooks, Timmy will stop it off. 2, 1, a shot.
No,
they
it's
got
it!
it!
Oh, they put it up! They put it up!
What are you doing,
my
Selfless?
goodness!
Flipside Tactics with 0 seconds left. Pulls it back with a mistouch on defense from Selfless, and we're going in overtime.
They thought
Does he
it
have
was...
enough boost to do anything useful? We hope. We'll see that one away. Greasy to Markey. Cooks is waiting for that pass. He'll be up quick. He does off the backboard. A second touch from Cooks here.
Oh my goodness,
Cuxer! And Cuxer for Flipside Tactics. Always coming out clutch. Will grab themselves a win to move themselves forward in the upper bracket.
We saw this throughout the regional championships. Cookser from that top left angle, bottom right. This is the RLCS World Championships here at the Wiltern in Los Angeles.
Unfortunately for F3, their success at Season 3 Worlds was short-lived. A close 3-2 loss to NA number 1 seed NRG in the following round sent them to the lower bracket, where they were set to play the Leftovers for the 3rd time this season. F3's usual lower bracket heroics were nowhere to be seen, and it was actually the Leftovers who went on quite a lower bracket run this tournament, as they took out F3 for the 2nd time this season, this time 3-1. When a team doesn't play up to their expectations, they commonly make a change. 5th at Worlds was definitely not where F3 wanted to be placing, so he did just that, getting rid of Greasy and bringing in Mystic as a more support type player for the duo of Cux and Markey. The off-season before RLCS Season 4 was different compared to the others, though, because there were plenty of meaningful lands before Season 4 to try out these new rosters. In the first of these, namely DreamHack Summer 2017, Flipside ended up beating a squad you might be familiar with in the finals, Gale Force Esports, comprised of Turbo Pulsa, K-Dop, and Violent Panda, which would later turn into the super team of Dignitas. Despite the field not being too strong and only 4 RLCS teams, DreamHack Summer was a statement from F3 to the teams in Europe that the new F3 was there to win. Unfortunately for them, Flipside exited in 5th at the next 2 such events, getting beat 3-1 by Selfless at X Games and 3-2 by G2 at DreamHack Atlanta, meaning that they were unable to improve upon their placement at Worlds. With a mixed bag of results in the offseason, Flipside was expected to be a solid but non-dominant team in RLCS Season 4, but they failed to do even that. F3 finished 2-5, narrowly avoiding missing out on the regional championship and having to play in the relegation tournament, only barely squeaking by Team Envy through game differential. In the regional championship, they were up against the same team they beat in the finals of DreamHack Summer, Gale Force Esports. Times were different now, though, and Gale Force sent F3 packing after a swift 4-1, while on their way to claiming the EU Championship, the World Championship, and the second ever Rocket League Dynasty, while F3 had hit their lowest point of all time. After another season of not meeting expectations, another change was made. It was finally time for the long-standing duo of Marky and Cux to be broken up, as one of these old veterans simply couldn't keep up with the rapidly rising skill of RLCS anymore. It was Marky who was given the boot, and Cux and Mystic decided to give young gun Yukio a chance to prove himself during DreamHack Leipzig 2018 qualifiers. Flipside certainly started 2018 on the right foot as they powered through the qualifier, taking down Fnatic and Guess Who would eventually become Vitality in the process. At DreamHack Leipzig itself, they were forced to play with a sub in Jesse for Mystic, yet they performed quite admirably, taking down the RLCS Season 4 runner-ups Method 3-2, thanks to some Cuxer clutch wizardry to qualify for Day 3, where they narrowly lost to eventual winners PSG 3-2. Things weren't looking too bad for Flipside heading into RLCS Season 5, where they hoped to be a competitive force for a spot at the World Championships. The regular season actually went quite well for them, with Cuxer returning to his old form and posting monster numbers, and the rookie Yukio playing up to the level of the competition. They found themselves in 4th place with a 4-3 record, meaning that all that stood between them and Worlds was a reinvigorated Envy squad with a rookie of their own, namely iignite, who was backed by RLCS vets Remco and Devo. Unfortunately, it was iignite who was the prevailing rookie, as F3 lost the series 2-4 and missed out on their second World Championships in a row. And it seemed that F3 were up against the wall in the RLCS. All things considered, Season 5 was certainly an improvement from Season 4, so Flipside decided to stick to their guns and try to build on the previous season's results. The off-season was quite dry for F3, but certainly not disappointing, as the one event that they did qualify for and attend, which was Gnarly 2, they ended up taking 3rd place at with a notable 3-2 win over NA powerhouse Cloud9. Heading into RLCS Season 6, reigning world champions Team Dignitas and Flipside Tactics were the only EU teams to not make a roster change, with even the number 3 team at Worlds Complexity deciding to change it up. Heading into the 5th week of RLCS, it was looking good for the teams who tried to stick with their roster, with Dignitas on a record-breaking undefeated season and Flipside looking to clinch top 2 by winning out. It came down to the last series of the season, where F3 found themselves in Game 5 versus a struggling Complexity, who never really found their form after changing their roster. This series has huge implications for both teams. F3 need to win to secure top 2 and a land spot for the first time since Season 3, while Cole need a win to avoid going down to the promotion tournament off a 3rd place finish at the World Championships. Well, I won't spoil what happens, but if we know one thing about Flipside,
But Greasy, such quick thinking on his feet. Another shot comes in and Yukio makes the save. A lot will look for the rebound, but Mystic gets it away, keeping it in the air and getting all the way back down the field. Final 7 seconds. Can Cuxer find Yukio with 4 seconds remaining? Magnus with a miss. Cuxer was the shot. A lot's got the save, but Yukio is there. The buzzer beater, and Flipside's in the top 2.
And Yukio, this series has been on fire. I don't even know how many goals he's been a part of, but monster saves, keeping Complexity out of the net, and some poor defensive situations. Huge finishes. Yukio, we've been questioning, what can you do?
and with that, Flipside finally made a LAN again. But first, they needed to play the regional championship to see what their seed would be. Unfortunately, they lost to We Dumb Girls for the 2nd regional championship in a row, but managed to bounce back with a 4-1 win over PSG to secure the number 3 seed. Their opponent in the first round of Worlds, the NA number 2 seed, featured a familiar face to Cuxer. Indeed, 5 World Championships later, Cuxer and Kernovi were battling it out in the first round of Worlds yet again, this time with 2 different teammates by each of their sides. This time, it was Cuxer who came out on top in Game 5, and F3 were in the upper bracket semifinal for the first time since Season 2, and the 2nd time in the organization's history. Unfortunately for Flipside, their next match was against the unstoppable Dignitas, who brushed aside any hopes of F3 making it the upper bracket final with a quick 3-1 en route to getting second place overall. With that, F3 fell to the lower bracket, and if there's anything worse than losing to the team that ends up getting second, it's losing to the team that ends up getting first. F3 were up against the North American Cloud9, who they beat at Gnarly 3-2 just a few months ago. This time, Cloud9 returned the favor and provided one of the most entertaining series of the entire World Championship, eventually winning the series 3-2 and knocking out Flipside in 5th, again, while C9 absorbed Flipside's power and went on an insane lower bracket run where they ended up toppling Dignitas in the grand finals. Unfortunately, RLCS Season 6 was the last RLCS that Cuxer and company ever played under the F3 banner, as the org left right before the next season started. However, there is one more event that is definitely worth recapping. There was a huge shakeup in the EU Rocket League scene thanks to KDOP leaving the super team of Dignitas to join, well, the super team of Vitality. With the spot open at Dignitas, Turbo and Violent Panda looked toward young gun Yukio to fill the gap, meaning the Austrian would leave his home to join the 3-time world champion. Fortunately for F3, there was another new talent on the market, and his name was Speed. F3 qualified for the WSOE LAN with Speed and got put in a group with reigning world champs and runner-ups C9 and Dignitas. Despite falling to C9 2-3, F3 actually finished on top of their group in no small part thanks to a dominant 3-0 victory over Dignitas and Cuxin Mystics ex-teammate Yukio. In the playoffs, F3 had a rematch against C9, where they ended up sweeping the world champs 4-0, with Speed playing like an absolute animal the entire time, despite it being his first major LAN. Their final test would be NRG, a team that was more than capable of putting an end to Speed's Cinderella story. The dream was fulfilled, though, as F3 played incredible Rocket League and completely outmaneuvered NRG to secure a 4-2 victory, winning their first major event since DreamHack Summer in June of 2017, and giving a final triumph for one of the most iconic organizations in Rocket League before they sadly decided to exit the scene. Flipside's last official LAN was DreamHack Leipzig in 2019, where they placed at a respectable but unremarkable 5th place, losing to the Vitality Super Team 2-3. Shortly after that tournament, it was announced that Flipside Tactics would be departing from Rocket League, and everyone had to witness the org that grew with the game finally have to say goodbye. And that's it. So how iconic were Flipside? Well, they were the team that defined competitive Rocket League for the first year and a half. Then they fell a bit, but maintained a strong ranking in RLCS, and never got bottom 2 after winning the World Championships, unlike some other teams who have fallen prey to the quote, champions curse, which is an impressive feat. In their last year, they were on an upswing and managed to finally make Worlds again and win a major LAN. So all around, Flipside ended as a high-table RLCS team whose contribution and initial impact back in 2015 to 2016 will never be forgotten by anyone who dares call themselves a Rocket League esports fan. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, and if you have any suggestions for what you would like to see in the future, whether it be content related or just another team for me to review, make sure to comment below. Also, if you're into Pokemon, check out Fall Swipe Gaming's channel, as they go through the competitive history of almost every Pokemon in a very similar fashion to how I did, and I drew heavy inspiration from them when making this video. I'll leave their link in the description. Thanks for watching!